ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Okay, okay. Okay. We're starting from this chapter 1, observing the armies on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Dhritarashtra said, "O Sanjaya, after my sons and the sons of Pandu assembled in the place of pilgrimage at Kurukshetra, desiring to fight, what did they do?" Okay, so the important things here is important things are Dhritarashtra's attachment to his sons. So material attachment is anyway bad, but material attachment to bad people is even bad. So Dhritarashtra was attached to his sons who were, Duryodhana was Kali personified. So, and which resulted in destruction of all his sons. This is the first thing that so don't support adharma, even if they are your most dear ones. And blind attachment, material attachment is not good, it results in misery. Okay, and then the place of Kurukshetra is glorified, major Kurukshetra. So this is where Parshuram, he killed all the Kshatriyas, and then there were pools of blood, Samanta Panchak. And then he does austerity there. And then Ribhu Muni, I think, he appears, and then Parshuram asks that he should become free from all the sinful reactions of killing Kshatriyas. So that became like a holy place. And then that place also, Prabhupada also says that um, the place for doing pious activities, karmic activities. And here there was a Dharma Yuddha. So obviously the side of Dharma will be victorious. So what did they do? Sanjaya said, "O king, after looking over the army arranged in military formation by the sons of Pandu, King Duryodhana went to his teacher and spoke the following words. O my teacher, behold the great army of the sons of Pandu, so expertly arranged by your intelligent disciple, the son of Drupada." So here we understand that we should not treat Guru the way Duryodhana is treating him. He is trying to point fingers and identifying that he did some mistake by training Drishtadyumna, who was actually born, who was begotten by Drupada to actually kill Dronacharya. So he's showing his mistakes, saying that you did something wrong. Krishna, you should not have taught him uh, this art of warfare, or this whole um, the skill of making this vyuha, military formation. Now he's very intelligent also. He is your disciple. He's very intelligent, and now he's actually helping the Pandavas. So see your mistake. So this was Duryodhana's point. Here in this army are many heroic bowmen, equal in fighting to Bhima and Arjuna, great fighters like Yudhana, Virata, Drupada. Again, so shows the fear of Duryodhana. So he was afraid of Bhima and Arjuna, and so he's comparing the other fighters to their um, ability. There are also great heroic, powerful fighters like Drishtaketu, Chekitana, Kashi Raja, Purujit, Kunti Bhoja, and Shaibya. So Prabhupada in his lectures talks about this, saying that what is the use of going over all these names? Anything in connection with Krishna is also Krishna. So when it is heard from with the right perspective, right consciousness, saying, okay, all these powerful fighters, if they were on the side of Pandavas, they were doing service. If they're on the side of Kauravas, they were doing disservice and will be destroyed. So it helps us to remain Krishna conscious. There are the mighty Yudamanyu, the very powerful Uttama, the son of Subhadra, and the sons of Draupadi. All these warriors are great chariot fighters. But for your information, O best of the Brahmanas, let me tell you about the captains who are especially qualified to lead my military force. These were Pandavas. Now he's talking about his side. There are personalities like you. So first, he's including Dronacharya himself. You, Bhishma, Karna, Kripa, Ashwatthama, Vikarna, and the son of Somadatta called Bhuri Shrava were always victorious in battle. So very important. So what words are coming out of his mouth? That maybe because of fear, or he's saying that they're always victorious. So we will be victorious here also. And then he's also playing some politics by saying first naming Dronacharya, then naming Bhishma, etc. There are many other heroes who are prepared to lay down their lives for my sake. All of them are well equipped with different kinds of weapons and are all experienced in military science. So their purpose is that this is the foreboding. This is telling the future that they'll all going to die. Our strength is immeasurable and we are perfectly protected by grandfather Bhishma, whereas the strength of the Pandavas, carefully protected by Bhima, is limited. This is because he is not seeing Krishna on the other side at all. So he is just looking at whoever seems to be the commander in chief, and then saying that okay, or that okay. So he's protected by Bhima, he is limited, and our strength is immeasurable because grandfather Bhishma's strength is unlimited. So he did not see Krishna. All of you must now give full support to grandfather Bhishma as you stand at your respective strategic points of entrance into the phalanx of the army. Now he glorified Bhishma. Now again, diplomacy, and saying, no, 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 but he's old. Grandfather Bhishma is old. So you please give full support to him from all sides. Then Bhishma, the great valiant grandsire of the Kuru dynasty, the grandfather of the fighters, blew his conch very loudly, making a sound like the roar of a lion giving Duryodhana joy. So Bhishma understood that Duryodhana is afraid, and then so to give him joy, he blew his conch very loudly, making a sound like the roar of a lion. Of course, the conch shell is indicative of auspiciousness, and in one sense, it also indicated that it is uh, going to be victory for the Pandavas because conch is indicates dharma, because it is held by person who gives dharma, the Supreme Lord. So it cannot be signifying adharma. After that, the conchs, drums, bugles, trumpets, and horns were also when they sounded, and the combined sounds were tumultuous. On the other side, both Lord Krishna and Arjuna, stationed on a great chariot drawn by white horses, sounded their transcendental conchs. And Prabhupada says that transcendental, everything connected with Krishna and his devotees is all transcendental. What devotees? Pure devotees. Everything associated with Lord Krishna anyway is transcendental. But everything associated with his devotees, pure devotees, is also transcendental. Arjuna himself is transcendental. In the conchs, their bows, their chariots, etc., everything is transcendental. And we have to see it that way, especially the devotees of Lord. Lord Krishna blew his conchal called Panchajanya, Arjuna blew his Devadatta, and Bhima, the voracious eater and performer of Herculean tasks, blew his terrific conchal called Poundra. King Yudhishthira, the son of Kunti, blew his conchal, Ananta Vijaya, Nakula Sahadeva blew the Sughosh and Mani Pushpaka. That great archer, the king of Kashi, the great fighter Shikandi, Drishtadyumna, Virata, unconquerable Satyaki, Drupada, sons of Draupadi, and others, O king, such as the mighty armed son of Subhadra, Abhimanyu, all blew their respective conchs. The blowing of these different conchs became uproarious, vibrating both in the sky and on earth. It shattered the hearts of the sons of Indra. At that time, Arjuna, the son of Pandu, seated in the chariot bearing the flag marked with Hanuman, took up his bow, prepared to shoot his arrows. O king, after looking at the sons of Dhritarashtra drawn in military array, Arjuna then spoke to Lord Krishna these words. So this is one of the signs of victory, Hanuman. So Arjuna was prepared to shoot his arrows. And then it says something to Lord Krishna. Arjuna said, "Oh, infallible one, Achyuta, please draw my chariot between the two armies so that I may see those present here who desire to fight and with whom I must contend in this great trial of arms." It's significant how Arjuna is speaking to Krishna just actually not even like equal, like a order giver. Like Arjuna has taken a superior position here. Though he's calling Krishna as Achyuta, he's saying, "Do some work for me. Draw my chariot between the two armies." Mhm. But because Krishna is Achyuta, he doesn't fall down from his exalted position, even if he becomes a chariot driver. So Arjuna is saying, "You are Achyuta. You given your promise saying that you are going to be on my side, and you are the charioteer. So in one sense, I will have to ask you, I will have to order you, but I'm not qualified to order you. But still, you accept my order because you are Achyuta." Mm. Mm. So Arjuna is saying, I want to see them. I want to see. I want to see those present here. Now, of course, Arjuna knew, Pandavas knew, everybody knew who were the people on the other side. But still, this was the trigger created by Krishna for Arjuna falling into Maya, for getting dejected, wildered. So this is where it all starts. Hmm. Let me see those who have come here to fight, wishing to please the evil-minded son of Dhritarashtra. And they said, "O descendant of Bharata, having thus been addressed by Arjuna, Lord Krishna drew up the fine chariot in the midst of the armies of both parties. In the presence of Bhishma, Drona, and all the other chieftains of the world, Lord said, Just behold, Partha, the Kurus assembled here." So Krishna knew what's going to happen. So he tells, in the presence of Bhishma, Drona. So Lord says, "See, all the Kurus." There, Arjuna could see within the midst of the armies of both parties his fathers, grandfathers, teachers, maternal uncles, brothers, sons, grandsons, friends, all his fathers in law, and well wishers. When the son of Kunti, Arjuna, saw all these different grades of friends and relatives, he became overwhelmed with Kripaya Paraya Vishtam Vikshidan Idam Abravit. So he became overwhelmed, Paraya Vishta, overwhelmed with Kripaya, with compassion, just by seeing all those people there. Arjuna said, "My dear Krishna, seeing my friends and relatives present before me in such a fighting spirit, I feel the limbs of my body quivering and my mouth drying up." Now, if you read only so much, "Oh, they are standing here, they have come here with such fighting spirit, I will also fight with that same spirit." No. Arjuna is saying they have come with that fighting spirit, but that fighting spirit seems to be wrong or wrongly directed. So I feel my limbs of my body quivering and my mouth drying up because I think that this is not right. What's going to happen is not right. So it's a sign of anxiety. The body is quivering, mouth drying up. My whole body is trembling. My hair is standing on end. My bow Gandiva is slipping from my hand, and my skin is burning. I'm unable to stand here any longer. I'm forgetting myself, and my mind is reeling. I see only causes of misfortune. O Krishna, killer of the Keshi demon. I see only causes of misfortune. So, this is, when we think that there is something not so auspicious, not so good, that's in front of us, then all these kind of bodily changes we undergo. Hmm. I do not see how any good can come from killing my own kinsmen. So now Arjuna goes into giving his reasons for not fighting. So first is I see only causes of misfortune. I don't see how any good can come. So it's all bad from killing my own kinsmen in the battle, nor can I, my dear Krishna, desire any subsequent victory, kingdom, or happiness. So it's of no use, because I can't desire any victory, kingdom, or happiness, because even if I desire subsequent victory, but I'm not going to be happy. So he explains that, oh, Govinda, what avail to us are a kingdom, happiness, or even life itself, when all those for whom we may desire them are now arrayed in this battlefield. So selfishness, sense gratification, that's what Prabhupada says. So, because Govinda, Arjuna is saying, what is the use of this kingdom happiness? Because we want this only for our people, relatives, and all of them are now arrayed in battlefield, going to die. Oh, Madhusudana, when teachers, fathers, sons, grandfathers, maternal uncles, fathers-in-law, grandsons, brothers-in-law, and other relatives are ready to give up their lives and property before me, why should I wish to kill them, even though they might otherwise kill me? Sign of weakness. As a Kshatriya, he's completely bewildered. So he's saying, why should I wish to kill them, even though they might otherwise kill me? It is not Kshatriya spirit. O maintainer of all living entities, I am not prepared to fight with them, even in the exchange for 3 worlds, let alone this earth. What pleasure will be derived? What pleasure will be derived? You are the maintainer of all living entities, but now you are asking me to fight and kill them. So, pleasure. So, first is misfortune, there's no good. Second is there's no pleasure, because everybody is going to get killed. Then, what is the use of this kingdom happening? Most importantly, it says sin will overcome us if we slay such aggressors. Now, this shows his signs of bewilderment, because he's saying aggressors. Prabhupada in the purport says that aggressors are supposed to be killed. And when aggressors are killed, there is no sin. And Arjuna knows this, but he's saying sin will overcome us if we slay such aggressors. He was bewildered. Therefore, it is not proper for us to kill the sons of Dhritarashtra and our friends. What should we gain, O husband of goddess of fortune, and how could we be happy? Our own kinsmen. So sin, and again, how could we be happy? Oh Janardana, although these men, their hearts overtaken by greed, see no fault in killing one's family or quarreling with friends. Why should we, who can see the crime in destroying a family, engage in these acts of sin? Again, so he's thinking about this sin. Now, what will happen if we commit this sin? This is very important. This is the Kali Yuga situation. Now, the following verses are important in 2 ways. One is, this is the state of the society today. So now we have to figure out some way to uplift the society. So this is the destruction of the social structure and the culture, right? And that's what Arjuna is foretelling, saying that now destruction of the dynasty, what will happen? Kulakshe pranashanti kulodharmaha sanatana. Eternal family tradition is vanquished. And dharme niste kalam kulam kritnam adharmo abhibhavatyuta. So what will happen? If the family tradition is vanquished, then people will engage in a religion. The very, very important part of cultured human society is to follow what is called as Kula Dharma and Jati Dharma. Now, which is where Varnashrama comes into picture, which is why Prabhupada wanted Varnashrama. What is the idea of Varnashrama? Not that we are going to follow every little rule which is mentioned in Vedas about Varnashrama, but the major practices which are favorable for Krishna consciousness will be followed, should be followed. And that is the idea of a Varnashrama society or a Varnashrama community. Um, hmm. So the samskaras, the main samskaras have to be followed, important. Festivals connected with the Lord have to be followed. Like today, it's a festival. But people are following this with some wrong understanding, or they should at least have proper understanding. And it's our responsibility to give them proper understanding and engage people who are not religiously oriented to engage in traditions. See, somebody who's not, doesn't want to come to temple, doesn't want to hear spiritual discourses, doesn't want to do all this chanting and all this, etc. Right? Now, one option is definitely giving them direct bhakti through Harinam and Prasadam. But some might not even come in touch with these things, right? And for them, they might be in their homes, but at least we should spread the varnashrama, the tradition, family traditions. Make people understand that they should protect their family tradition, follow their family tradition. Otherwise, people will become involved in religion, now, which is what is happening in today's world. Because rest of the world, apart from India, is already in dogs, onto dogs. But even in India, because of this so-called modern culture and lifestyle, etc., people are not following any of this. And naturally, if there is no religion to be followed, there is going to be religion. Only two things possible: religion or religion, or a religion. If you're not following religion, you're going to follow a religion. Whether you are grossly sinful or whether you are subtly sinful, you will remain adharmic. So the only opportunity to protect people from being irreligious is to give them some form of religion, right? And the so-called religious faith called Hinduism, Muslim, Islam, Christianity is not good enough because they're not giving a reason for people to actually practice. And people in this age want reasons, and because there are no reasons, they're giving up that so-called religion, thinking it's some blind faith or it's some sentiment, and accepting a religion. So this family tradition is very, very important to be protected. When irreligion is prominent, so when family tradition is given up, it results in irreligion. When irreligion increases, the women of family become polluted. And from degradation of womanhood comes unwanted progeny. Now, this degradation, there are two ways of degradation, right? One is the gross degradation, which is what has happened now in Western countries, right? Which is there is no sanctity of family. There is so chastity for women. They, without getting married, they engage in sexual relations with other men and all that. So it's polluted, right? And what happens? It results in unwanted progeny, which we are already seeing in the Western countries, right? So this statement is not wrong. But people in India might look at this and say, oh, no, no, but this is not there. It's not for us. Of course, it's for us because this is already now starting in India, right? The younger generation is they're engaging in all these acts. And not very soon or already there will be unwanted progeny, but maybe not in so many numbers as it is in the Western world. But our society is also going in that direction. For cultured women, what is more important is that this samskara of Garbhadhana is important. Otherwise, not following this samskara makes women polluted. Meaning it's not pure progeny. Then they're called Varna Sankara. When the Garbhadhana samskara is not followed, it's called Varna Sankara. Okay, and this is part of the family tradition. So Arjuna is foreseeing the present condition of Kali Yuga, in Dwapar Yuga, end of Dwapar Yuga. What happens if this unwanted progeny increases? Certainly causes hellish life for both for the family and for those who destroy the family tradition. Because whoever now they are going to the family will it will be hellish life, and also for those who destroy family tradition, and ancestors of such corrupt families fall down because Shraddha is not performed, which is also one of the sanskaras. Offering food and water, Pindodaka. So please understand this whole fashion of not following all these things is a result of giving up paternal family tradition, resulting in irreligion, irreligion resulting in women getting polluted, resulting in unwanted progeny resulting in, again, corrupting the whole society, and ancestors of such corrupt families fall down. And what happens? The evil deeds of those who destroy the family tradition and thus give rise to unwanted children All kinds of community projects and family welfare activities are devastated. So basically, society goes for a toss. Because of because of whom? Because of those who destroy the family tradition. So the key is this family tradition. So which is what Arjuna is worried about, saying this is sin because we are going to destroy the family tradition and it will result in so many bad results. And then Arjuna is saying, by the way, I am not saying it, oh Krishna. I have heard by disciplic succession that those whose family traditions are destroyed dwell always in hell. So this is hellish. This is sinful. I don't want to do it. Alas, how strange it is that we are preparing to commit greatly sinful acts. Driven by the desire to enjoy royal happiness, we are intent on killing our own kinsmen. But this was the mood of the Kauravas, not the Pandavas. Pandavas were not driven by the desire to enjoy royal happiness. They are just wanted to do their duty as Kshatriyas. They wanted some kingdom, and then Duryodhana refused. They were not even given 5 villages. So they're just doing it as a matter of just for their duty, as a duty. But it was the Kauravas who were actually desiring to enjoy royal happiness. But because Arjuna is bewildered, he's thinking, oh, we such great sinful acts, so many bad repercussions, but still we are driven by karma. We are driven by karma. Better for me if the sons of Dhritarashtra weapons in hand were to kill me unarmed and unresisting on the battlefield. So I am ready to die. Arjuna, having thus spoken on the battlefield, cast aside his bow and arrows and sat down on the chariot, his mind overwhelmed with grief. He just keeps his bow and arrows aside and then he sits down with, you can imagine, with his head on his hand on his head, not head on his head, his hand on his head, uh, overwhelmed with grief. Sanjaya said, seeing Arjuna full of compassion, his mind depressed, his eyes full of tears, Madhusudana, Krishna spoke the following. So Arjuna was crying, just imagine. Such a great warrior, Kshatriya. Kshatriyas are not used to crying, but he was so much overcome by compassion that he's crying. Supreme Personality of Godhead said, my dear Arjuna, how have these impurities come upon you? How can that you be sitting like this and crying? How have these impurities come upon you? Because this is impurity. It's not Kshatriya Dharma. That means that there is some contamination in your Dharma. So it is contamination, impurity. They're not at all befitting a man who knows the value of life. Now, one person who knows the value of life is a person who follows Varnashrama Dharma. He knows the value of life because Varnashrama Atharvatena Purushena Parapuman Vishnu Aradhyate. So he knows that ultimately I have to come to the stage of worshipping Vishnu. He knows the value of life. He knows the value of human life. He knows the value of following the Varnashrama tradition. So Krishna is saying they lead not to higher planets but to infamy. If you don't if you don't do your duty, it's infamy. To do your duty and without expectation of any results, just as a matter of duty, you will achieve Swarga. O son of Pritha, do not yield to this degrading impotence. Vaibhyam. Naetatvai upapadyate. Shudram Hridaya Daurbalyam Taktvatishta Parantapa. Shudram, very petty. Hridaya Daurbalyam, weakness of heart. Chakto Uttishta, arise. This is very, very important for devotees. So we talked about this. Arjuna was a devotee, but he became affected by weakness of heart, Shudra Daurbalyam. And it is preventing him from doing his duty, from being an ideal devotee. And so Krishna is telling you, give up this petty weakness of heart. So all of us have weakness of heart. So yeah, so many things, right? Like example, some people can't get up in the morning. Some people can't control themselves from eating non-prasadam. Some people can't control themselves from spending money, from shopping. Now all these are our anarthas. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. And all these anarthas are actually produced, are effects of mode of passion and ignorance. The modes of passion and ignorance creates weakness of heart in us. So Krishna is directly saying you give up this petty weakness of heart. Now, it's very interesting, right? Now, how can a person who is affected by some weakness of heart give it up himself? Hmm? So, one thing we can understand from this is previously it was possible because people were trained nicely in in Gurukul, in our cultured Varnashrama society. So, if by chance they are doing something wrong by mistake, by just proper guidance, they could correct themselves. Okay, so he's saying you just give up. This is some petty weakness of heart. You just got some contaminations happened. Just give it up. You should. This is not good for you. This is okay for people in Vedic culture, but for people who are not in Vedic culture, for all of us, it's just impossible. So this petty weakness of heart affected by the lower modes cannot just be given up because we don't have that strength. We don't have that culture. We don't have that knowledge. We don't have that background. We don't have the societal support. In fact, the society is just opposite. So while Krishna is just very easily just telling Arjuna, saying that give up petty weakness of heart and arise, even for Arjuna, who was stuck in this position, it seemed impossible. And for most people in Kali Yuga, it's just impossible to just simply give up weakness of heart. Arjuna is saying, you just say give up petty weakness of heart, but Arjuna is saying, oh, killer of enemies, killer of Madhu, how can I counteract with arrows in battle men like Bhishma and Drona for worthy of my worship? See, Arjuna, though Krishna is saying this is petty weakness of heart, Arjuna is still trying to substantiate that it's not petty. Because he's saying, no, I am not doing, what is petty about it? See, I don't want to kill people like Bhishma and Drona. They're worthy of my worship. So which means Arjuna again became myopic. He is short-sighted. He's just seeing Bhishma and Drona as his grandfather and teacher, but not seeing on whose side were they fighting. So it was still petty weakness of heart. But he could not see his petty weakness of heart. And this is very, very important for all of us to note that we also cannot see our weaknesses. And when somebody comes and tells us saying that, hey, this is your weakness, or, this one, you should not have done like this, we don't have the humility to accept it. And then we want to substantiate ourselves, like protect our act, why we did something the way we did. And we'll put arguments. But the only difference between possibly people who do this now and Arjuna was Arjuna did not do this without he didn't have mindset saying that Krishna is telling me he's hurt my false ego. No, Arjuna was just bewildered. He was not affected. He didn't have any false ego or pride or arrogance or haughtiness, nothing like that. He was just bewildered. He was just confused. In that confused state, he's giving some bad logic. That's all. But those people who do this in today's world, they have so many other demoniac prince qualities which will actually prevent them from acting like Arjuna. So Arjuna then surrenders to Krishna. But the modern generation, they will not surrender to any authority. Somebody is asking me the other day saying that, why do we fall from the spiritual world? Actually, a very interesting question. I was just thinking about it. And one answer came to my mind, which possibly, at least to me, seems like very logical. Can somebody tell? Actually, it's a very interesting thought process. Why would we fall from the spiritual world?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yeah.
The reasons what I've heard from this thing is, Prabhu, even there, when we are doing work, the envy of one another, that doesn't go. You want to, over here it is, we want to oversee the Lord here and on the material world, but over there, envy, that slight independence of enviness.
No, but we are
possible.
envious about whom?
You know, like sometimes it could be the Supreme Lord, or it could be other souls doing seva.
No, but think
I
about
mean,
it, right?
I you know, because they say the gradation is like the gradation is there, like who is doing what service there. So sometimes you're a better servant, or you want to be closer,
Mhm.
and no, that sparks off the and you fall. I don't know. This
Okay.
is I had heard. I could be wrong, Prabhu, but it was.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Anything else? Anything else? Anybody else? Actually, it's a very, very important thing to note. This
Because we didn't listen to the father's words.
didn't listen to the other souls. Okay, there is competition. Huh?
Because Krishna is our father, so we
So we
are
didn't listen to Krishna.
against his wish.
No, but that before that happened, why did we even go against his wish?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Simple answer is we don't want to serve Krishna. That's why we fall down from the spiritual world.
That's not a simple. That's a very complicated answer.
Hare Krishna.
We want
Simple
actually
answer.
independence.
Okay. Okay. Good. Okay. So somewhere we are getting there. Now, build on that.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. But you know, like I mean, the question you asked and the answers, like many times, like when we say we are independent souls, we are back to Godhead. We reach there, then why anything comes in there?
Yeah, that is
we should not come at all.
Yeah.
Because we are back there, and there should be no chances of slipping back to the material world.
Correct.
We're not
Correct.
in Dhamloka. So I mean, this question never gives. I mean, has never given me a satisfactory answer.
Yeah. It's not given me also. Let's try. Okay. So independence. Now let's take this path of independence. What does this mean? What does this independence mean? Okay. So explain. Think in terms of what we are trying to give up now, and what is this whole process of initiation?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hmm.
Giving up our free will, Prabhu.
Yes. So what we are trying to do, so in this material world, why are we suffering? We are suffering because of misused free will, right? The misuse of the free will is the reason why we are suffering here. And that's the primary reason why we came here. And we are continuing to suffer because of misuse of free will. Now, what we are doing as the process of ritual process, or this process of, initiation, is to give up our free will. Why are we trying to give up our free will? Because we don't seem to have the ability to use our free will properly. Because free will seems to be very, very powerful. It's powerful, right? It can destroy us, this free will. And because we are small jivas, we don't have the ability to actually use this free will properly. So what we are trying to do, as part of the initiation process, we are trying to give up our freedom. And we have the free will, but we are giving up the willingness to use our free will by surrendering to Guru and saying, Guru, now I am giving my freedom in your hands, free will in your hands. You tell me what needs to do, what needs to be done. It means that I'm protecting myself by taking shelter of a qualified person who has the ability to use my free will in the right way. Authority. Surrender to authority. Okay. Now, this surrender through authority is the means by which we are going to go back to Godhead, isn't it? So we're going to surrender to the Guru, follow his instructions, live life according to that. Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado. Only then we can actually come to the process of perfection. And we go back to the spiritual world. When we go back to the spiritual world, the authority still exists. We still have to work under authorities. So the jivas who fall down will be those who give up their authority, which we saw, for example, Vrinda Devi. She was cursed. She came down as Tulsi. Right? In some sense, we have this, we might give up, we have this tendency, the free will is always there, right? And when there is free will, there is possibility of use and misuse. And the misuse is avoided till that free will is in the hands of Guru or the authority. And when we give up this authority, and we don't want to give up, when we want to give up this authority is when there will be a possibility of fall down, because we will then act independently, because if there is somebody on top of us, they will never let us act in a wrong way. Now, you might ask saying that, no, how is that possible? No, this Haridas, right? Who was that? Haridas, yeah. He was not Haridas, that and one more, what's his name? Who was with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu?
Chota Haridas.
No, not Chota Haridas. So one more, but who was with Bhattacharya? Who was that? Who was with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on the South Indian tour, and the Bhattatharis actually
Is it
they just
Kalakrishna Das Prabhuji?
Kalakrishna Das. Yeah. So Krishna Das. Yeah. So he was there with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was there with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. What more can you say? But he didn't. He still retained his free will. He didn't surrender his free will to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he was with him. He was serving him. Right now, see, it's simple. What is this? We can get into a spiritualize. What is spiritualization? Is that we are raising above materialism, right? The contamination will go and we come to a pure state. Now, that pure state is not something which is locked up somewhere. Meaning, it's the pure state also has a possibility of becoming impure again, and that impurity happens when we give up authority. The tendency is always there, but if we stick to authority, then the chances of falling down are not there. Now, this is my latest realization. I just sprang up in my head when I was, reading this Vrinda, Tulsi, and some cursing, etc. that happens. I was thinking that the only possibility is if I have a protector, then I will never do something wrong wherever I am, be it in the material world or in the spiritual world. Because the status of me being a jiva and me having that independent free will is true eternally. Right? And we are also seeing that here we had free will, we misused the free will. Now we are trying to go into a stage where we don't want to use our free will and we want to surrender everything to Guru. And then Guru will protect us. And it's the same thing, our spiritual authority in the spirit will protect us as long as we are surrendered to the. For example, no, okay, I became envious. I want to do that service. Now, what should I do? That enviousness is not, as in, okay, let me put it this way. If I have a desire to do some service in the spiritual world, whom should I go to? Go to my authority. And so I also want to do this service. If the authority says, no, you can't do it, it's somebody else's service, we should just accept it. So look at it this way, that maybe I have a spiritual desire only to please Krishna. But if I'm not surrendered to the authority, then even that spiritual desire itself might result in me falling down, right? Because it's very simple, right? I had a spiritual desire. I went to my authority. My authority said no. I was not ready to accept it. Then I'll fall down. Which is why this initiation process is actually training us to surrender. Unfortunately, this again, we discussed this multiple times, right? But some more devotees want to remain independent. And I'm very happy that there are some devotees who are like so nicely surrendered that, I can see them and feel that I should just hold on to them, and the way they are surrendered and the way they are, doing things so nicely that they will absolutely go back to Godhead. So it's, I just hold on to be in their association. I'm sure that I will also go back to Godhead. Right? And this is not just, of course, there are so many exalted devotees, superior, senior to me who are doing this, and there are so many junior to me also who are doing this. Junior in terms of number of years in Krishna consciousness, and it inspires me because this is the only thing actually which is going to protect us. For example, now again, same thing. No, like I suppose say there are whatever. I've been put in position of guiding many devotees. Now I can feel prideful about it. It's the same thing in the spiritual world, that if I am taking care of many devotees and their services to Radha and Krishna, then I can feel proud if I am not surrendered to my authority. So please understand, the tendencies might even spring up from, they might look like spiritual desires. I mean, might be spiritual desires in the beginning, but if you're not ready to accept authorities, then it will result in us giving up our authorities, and thereby we will fall down. And this thought came to my mind. I was just thinking about how ISKCON functions. And for me, ISKCON is the spiritual world. Prabhupada created ISKCON as a spiritual world, as in people who come here should be in that consciousness, right? And I was thinking, okay, we are trying to train devotees to, give up that material consciousness. And what are we trying to do? We are trying to just helping them to surrender to Guru, right? And senior Vaishnavas. But they don't want to surrender. They don't want to surrender. If the tendency is there, if the tendency not to accept authority is there, it might spring up again in the spiritual world. So wholeheartedly, we should give up our false ego and our pride and everything and wholeheartedly accept authority. And what is that? That practice is saying that in any situation in my life, I will not use my free will. I will be guided by my authority. That is the actual sadhana we are doing. And the more we become fixed in that mode, saying that, I'm just a servant and I'm just going to follow authorities, we are saved. Very less chances we will, or almost zero chances, if we are surrendered to authority. This was my, again, I'm speculating on this, but because this topic has been so confusing and I have not seen any clear answers like Sumantra Mataji is saying, that I was just, actually, I was not thinking. I was speaking to somebody who asked me this question, and as a response to their question, these words came out of my mouth. And I had not contemplated on this before. So I just felt like maybe this was spoken. So I'm thinking of that as, anyway, it's speculation again, but I just feel it's like calculated or logical speculation or extension more than speculation of other things that we have heard and consciousness. Anyway, so I'll stop there. Has any question?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhu, a few days back, I was listening to one of Prabhupada's lecture. And in that, he very clearly mentions about spiritual consciousness also.
Okay.
I mean, like today when you spoke about it, I could relate to it much more better. But there is one doubt which Prabhu, just say when we go back to Godhead, every material desire has to be zero. Right, Prabhu? Like we cannot, desire, everything has to be nullified, only then we go there. Now, when we go there, mind, intelligence, everything is zero. So when we go there, we are prepared, we are spiritual sparks ready to serve. Then where does the question, and Prabhupada talks about, we are conscious. But then we have a common goal of serving, Prabhu. Why this, not listening, listening, why envy? Like, see, I mean, what you said today, at least 80% of it was like, I can't say kyun aisa hota hai. Like, usually most of them say you have envy, you fall down.
No, but it's not envy. It's not material envy,
that's
right?
Exactly what I'm saying. There is no envy there. But Prof, but why is that pure consciousness also not wanting to given?
Yeah. So like I gave one example, right? I gave one example of, I speculated with one example, right? Like, for example, say my service is to sweep the floor, right? I have to sweep the floor of a kunja. Okay. Assume, say that is my service. But now, in one sense, I become greedy, spiritually greedy. Okay. And then I say, no, I want to actually bring garland for Radha and Krishna. For example, I don't want to sweep. Okay, so then I go to my authority, whoever it is, and saying that, see, I want to do that service. Now, this is spiritual desire. No, I want to I want to offer, garlands to Radha and Krishna. It's a spiritual desire. Now, if I go to my authority and I'm speculating like this, it's recorded, I'm speculating. I'm telling loudly, I'm speculating. Right? So, if I go to my authority and suppose I tell my authority saying that I want to do this service and my authority rejects it, saying that no, you can't do that, you have to do this service for whatever reason. If I am ready to, if I wholeheartedly accept instruction, I will not fall down. But even because of my spiritual desire that I want to do this, if I reject my authority, then I am gone. Then it will result in envy. All these things will spring from there. Right? Then I might envy those devotees who are doing that service. I might envy my guru or my authority because that person is in power and position and I have to follow whatever right? Now my envy can get triggered. So it's not necessarily material envy, which is why, this authority is so important. Even in ISKCON, we are saying that, we still, however capable we are, whatever we are, etc., we still have to surrender to our authority. Because without this training, without we completely giving up that free will to our authority, we will go and mess up in the spiritual world also. Right? Because yes, there is no material envy. We didn't go with any material desire. We went with a spiritual desire, but that spiritual desire was not what I am allowed to do for whatever reason. Like I said, speculating. But it's at least from whatever I've heard, on this topic, seems to be the most logical to me at this point of time. Right? Maybe after a few years, maybe it will change. But at this point of time, this is what I think. And it reinforces my principle of giving up freedom. The principle, I should say, not my principle, but what should I say? I highlight that principle that we have to give up freedom at the time of initiation. And that kind of connected with this, with what could happen in the spiritual world. We don't, if we not, if authority is not everything for us, then we are in trouble. Okay. And it's very complex. And it's very complex. You could, like, for example, in this case of like Vrinda Devi, Krishna pushed Vrinda Devi to somewhat like break, not follow her authority. So which means that even situations could be such that we maybe somewhat like pushed to, transcend authority, but we should be so surrendered, saying we should say, no, Krishna, even if you are here, even if you are making me do this, no, my authority is not allowing me, so I can't do. That's the level of surrender. Right? Because Krishna is he can he possibly is even testing us. Right? So we never know. So we have to stick to authority. Anyway, like I said, this seems to be the most logical to me at this point of time, but I don't know. Okay. Anything else apart from this topic? Because that's all I can speak on this topic. That's all I have to speculate on this topic. Anything else on the other things that we discussed? Petty weakness apart, please focus on that. Okay, then we'll stop here. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasinduvyarvapatidanam. Yo namo namananda.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, then with Pranam Prabhu, then with Pranam to everybody. Assembly.